Yes, we are live. Let me just adjust that. Okay. Merry Christmas Eve, everybody. Welcome to Films by JRP. Guess what we're doing today? Today we are doing a live tutorial of how to wrap the perfect gift. Now, everyone knows that when you wrap a gift, the the performance of the gift is totally based off of how great does the wrapping look. And wrapping always starts with tape. Tape is your friend. Tape is where it all starts. And so today I'm going to show you a step-by-step process on how a perfect gift looks like. So over here I have a big bag of bows, and I also have a bunch of tape, and I also have some tissue paper and lots of other small bags. But we're not going to be using the bags today. We'll just be using wrapping. So first, obviously, you want to make sure you have a lot of tape. So I have my tape here, and my scissors. Let me go ahead and open this. Hope you guys' Christmas Eve is going very well. Hopefully you're not watching this on Christmas Eve, you're watching it later. All right, so we'll get to the bows in a bit after we finish the project. So today we are wrapping a book. I don't want to tell you who it's for or what it's about, because if they're watching, it might spoil the surprise. But we're wrapping a book. And then we have our brand new wrapping paper right here. It's a kind of blue Christmas tree type design. Kind of reminds me of Hanukkah, honestly, but that's what we're going with. So we got to make sure we open it. Always best to have brand new wrapping paper if possible. Oh, and by the way, I'm not looking at the front-facing camera, so if you're commenting, I can't read the comments, but I'll make sure to respond to them afterwards. Okay, so here's our wrapping paper. So now, number one is to make sure that you don't have too much or too little wrapping paper. If you have too little, then you're going to have to create a weird patch, and that's never going to look good. And if you have too much, you're going to have to fold it, and it's going to look boxy. So it's important to try to premeditatively measure the item based on the wrapping paper that you have, and I hope that you can see this. So I'm going to place this against the book, and they have these great grid lines here that make it very easy. So you can just kind of see lines up, and what you also do not forget to account for is the 3D edges. It's not just a flat surface, it's all the way around. So in this case, it's a book, so you have to double the length for both sides, and then also the two sides. So let's see. So I'm going to pull the book out here. So I'm going to, hopefully you guys can still see that. Okay, so that's one length, and I put my finger here to measure where it is, and then move the book down. Okay, there's another length. And then let's see how long the edge is here. It's probably only one grid, barely, only one. So then, because it's one grid space, I'm going to add two because it's both sides. So 1, 2, and then what we always do is we add one extra grid just in case we don't have enough room. Okay, so now we know that right here is where we cut, and so supposedly it should be able to all fill up. And then secondly, you want to make sure that your width is okay, which is not as difficult. It's actually a lot easier because you don't have to line it up or anything, you just have to place it. Now see, the thing is with books is there's sometimes it's hard to get it just right without you having overkill, so if that ends up happening, that's fine. Just try not to make it too much. So this is about right here. So we'll move that out of the way, and it's time to cut the paper. So let's see, I'm gonna mark it right here. Right, oh, almost lost it. Right there, that's what we're gonna cut. All right, let's get that going. And then I forgot the width again, so we're gonna bring the book back. All right, let's go a little bit deeper. Right about there. All right, now cut the rest of the paper. And guys, every time I give gifts, people are always astounded by my tape skills. They are always amazed at how sealed the item is. And that's what I'm going to try to show you today, is to get that true seal. Sure, it may take 10 times longer to open the gift, but what's important is the performance and how well does it look. That's what's key here. So we have our wrapping paper. And it's at this point that I'm going to briefly depart just to make sure the stream is still running properly. It is. Okay, great. So we'll continue. All right. So like I said, we have our completed wrapping paper here. So we're going to go ahead and put the book in to see if I measured accurately. Yes, I did. it's actually over a full grid length longer widthwise than it has to be. Let's look at the length. So we have 1 book length, 2 book lengths, and then account for the edges. 1 grid space, 2 grid space. We actually have 2 extra as well. It's a little bit too long, but almost perfect. So I'm actually pretty proud of myself. Okay, now another thing is when you're folding, you want to think about where is the final fold going to take place, because that's where you're going to see the tape. And no matter how perfect you make it, you're going to see that tape. So you want to think about where are they going to open it. And what you want to do is have the front-facing part of the gift facing where there is no tape, because that always looks cleanest. So what we do first is we fold first just to think about where is it probably going to go. So let's see. I would potentially, this actually could be pretty easy. I'm just going to do this. 1 fold in, 1 fold over. Now another thing that I do is that I don't fold perfectly 50-50, because then you have the tape trying to hold together both sides. So you don't want to do that. You definitely want to do what I call the 2/3 method. You go 2/3 down the item. This could be almost 3/4, but we're going to 2/3. And then you fold the second shorter part over that, and what you have is a nice overlay. Now, some people fold the inside flap. I don't, because then it's attached to the item itself, and it's just more difficult. And if you do this correctly, you shouldn't need to. So I'm going to not tape that, but I am going to tape this. And like I said, the front of the item is already facing down, which is good. So then when I put it under the tree, I flip it around, and all they see is the part without the tape, which is, of course, is always the goal. Now, if you're a true nerd, you could really try to make it even more perfect and line it up to the design here. Like, I could put it, I don't know if you can see that, but I could put it right here, and you may not even notice it if it weren't for the tape. However, even I don't care that much, and I'd rather it be sealed and tight, so I'm going to go ahead and make it that because if you had to choose, I'd rather go for a seal rather than exact perfectness. Now, one thing you might encounter when you're putting on the tape is that the gift kind of loosens and it doesn't stay in place. So one thing to do is take the tape off first so that you're not constantly going back and forth between the circle and or the tape and the present. So what I do is I take like a good 10 strips off, and I just put them on the edge of the table here ahead of time. That way all I have to do is grab them and they are ready to go. All right, I think that's good. Okay, so now let's put the gift back together again. Now, what we always do is we start with a central piece. Now, remember, once you put that one first piece, it is going to dictate the rest of the present. So you want to make sure, because I mean, like say I put the tape on this right now, then the whole present would be airy. And so it's important to make sure to get that seal as tight as you can with all your fingers like this before you put on the first piece. And I'm going to hold my 2 fingers sideways like this to make sure that it's as tight as possible. So not quite. All right, here we go. Make it nice, tight, no wrinkles. Put that first piece on. Now, that should hold most of it. Even when I put on the rest of the tape, everything else should be in place. That first piece is always the most important. So now, as you can see, it's actually much easier. You don't have to line it up as precariously. All right, so let's put on the other piece right here. Now, tape management is important. My perspective is you can never have too much tape. Just remember, sorry, I kicked the stand. I just want to make sure it's still in place here. Okay, yeah, it kind of is. Sorry about that. Anyways, I was talking about tape management, and you want to make sure that while you don't hold back on the tape, at the same time, you don't want to throw it all over the place either. So just make sure wherever the tape is, it's needed. Like I was saying earlier, don't put it on the inner fold where you don't need one. Just put it where it needs to be. So like here, I have tape almost across the entire thing to create that sealed amount. However, it doesn't have to be every single spot, just enough so that it's really tight. Okay, so now we're going into the edges. Now the edges can be kind of tricky. Remember, what's really important is you have to have all your tape folds on the same side. So what you got right here is we would push this down, the top part, then we get to the edges here and create like this little triangle on the edge here like this. See how it's kind of, I don't know if you can see that, it's create this like triangle shape right here. Okay, now again, I could put tape here, but I'm not going to because otherwise it goes on the item itself. So we get a piece of tape ready, and then We hold it down. Sometimes you may have to squish it a little if it goes over a bit. That's okay. No one will see that because it's going to be folded up. Okay, so now you grab the bottom. Now make sure to try to get out as many air pockets as possible. Okay. All right. So try to squeeze that in there. All right. Now this isn't ideal because it's not quite long enough. It doesn't go quite over the edge. That's unfortunate. But sometimes it happens. I'm just pulling it out again right now because it seemed like it was overflowing a little bit. And that can happen, and that can cause air bubbles, but I don't know, I guess it doesn't have to be perfect. So, all right, so just get it as high as you can go, and then you put the tape right in the middle as always to get that starter piece, as I always like to say. And then you always get the borders. That's where you always start. Start with 3 pieces of tape. Middle, border, border. Oh, now it's stuck on the table. And then only add more than that if it really seems like it's going to need more. But that should be enough. Let's see. Now in this case, someone could easily grab the edge and rip it up. So I'm going to go ahead and cover it all the way. All right, and then so now we're going to do back the exact same thing. Now on the other side, we're starting to run out of tape, so I'm going to replenish my tape right here. Just give that a second. All right, now we're going to do the same thing, but this time this side's a little easier because the top flap does not go all the way down, making there no overlap, which is great. So then we can easily bring up the bottom, and it's even more sealed than the other side. How beautiful is that? All right, so now we're going to do, now in this case, I'm going to do the borders first. You can do both, but when it's more of a tight seal like this, you want to grab the borders first. And, oh, see what I just did? I overlapped the tape. Sometimes it happens. That's all right. So now we got that one border. Now we're just going to move down the middle. Again, depending on how tight you want the seal, if you want it really tight, you would start with the end and move to the other end, or if you don't need it as tight, you can start with the middle to establish it. All right, so let's make it tight. And then, like I was saying on the other side, if it looks like there's like an edge here that people can grab, you're definitely going to want to cover that up. So in this case, I'm going to do the full thing. All right. Okay, now one of the last steps is what I call removing or creating the seal. That's what I call it. You have edges here, all right? Now, some would say, don't you want edges? Oh, dang it. I hit the stand again. There we go. Sorry, it's a little close. Okay, anyways, I was saying some would say that you want to keep the edges so that people can open the gift easier, but I say presentation is everything. That's what I've been saying. So we have to get rid of those extra sides here. Pretty simple. You just push the edge in, place the tape right here, and put it down. We are going for what I call an everlasting seal. You want to make this gift almost nuke-proof, okay? You want to make it so impossible for them to get in that they just think you hired a professional rapper to do this. And his name was Kanye West. No, just kidding. That's a different kind of rapper. Okay, so same thing on this side. Just putting in the corners here. This one doesn't really have much of a corner, but we're going to do it anyway. Push it in. All right, now final thing is that we are going to inspect it for any problems, defects, or additional tape that is needed. Doesn't look like it. Now, it looks like there could be a bit of a tear here. Now, this is something that's going to be a judgment call for you guys as well. There's a bit of a tear here. There's a risk that someone could grab it and rip it. However, is it worth putting tape on your main face? Based on the size of the scratch, I'm going to say no because I want the front to stay immaculate, and right now it does. There is some side tape that people are inevitably going to see, unfortunately, but pick the side that's better. I think in this case it is. So you'll have the front plus this. Now, ideally, maybe you have it against a gift so that it's kind of leaning like this. Now, sometimes I'll go out of my way to put something in a box or something so that they can't guess what it is. Because someone could narrow this down to a book or a video, and who buys videos these days? So you can probably assume that it is the book. But again, I think a seal is more important, even if they do guess what it is. But if it's a big gift and you really want people to be in the dark about it till the very last second, you could always wrap it perfectly and then put it in a box So at least even when they open the box, they'll still be relatively surprised because they hadn't seen even the shape until that minute. But again, if you're having a small gift like this, I definitely don't put it face down. I would suggest putting something under it like this, kind of leaning, and just have like the kind of an angled look like that. Again, everything looks good. Okay, so now the question is whether we put it in a bag or not. Let's see. Now, when you're putting it in a bag, and I'm just going to show you, I don't need to, but no, you know what? I don't even think we have a bag that's big enough, so unfortunately I can't show you. But typically bags are so much easier because you can just throw it in there and throw tissue paper on it. But another important thing to note is that when you are putting it in a bag, I would still suggest to do this whole process again, even if you're putting it in a bag. Because people can just take out the wrapping paper, or the whatever it's called, the tissue paper, and then it's all over. But it'll be doubly as suspenseful if they open it and, oh, it's not done yet. Now you got to unwrap this. That's what makes it good. Okay, so our final step for today will be selecting a bow. Bows are important because without it, the present is naked. And actually, I just realized there is actually one more step before then. Or actually, no, it's after. We'll do it after. Okay, so color choice is important. Now, this present is blue. Should we go with blue? No, because the bow needs to stand out. So, first of all, we have to choose size. Now, you never want the bow to overtake the present and be like 25% of the thing. So, I'm going to go with a small red bow. Red is the complete opposite of blue, and it is very small here, and it only takes up part of it. I'm going to put it right in the middle here. Some would go for the center, but I say the kind of the upper top here, because it kind of, especially if if you're looking at it like this, it kind of creates that nice bookend to the gift. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the sticky bottom. Now again, remember with bows, as I'm sure you know, once you put them on, they're extremely hard to get off without tearing the paper. So try to guess where you're going to put it. Also realize that the sticky adhesive doesn't always line up with the shape of the bow. So if you line up the adhesive perfectly, the bow may still be it'll be lopsided, and that seems to be the case here. So I'm going to line it up perfectly. Now, can't decide. It seems to be kind of like all-sided here. Let's see. All right, this seems to be the top. So I'm going to put it like this. Line it up just right and down. Now when you kind of moved a little. Oh, that didn't look good. Dang it. So put it right there. Kind of put your fingers through the middle of the bow to push it down. Now see what happened there is that one side stuck. I wasn't quite ready to put it down yet, and it did rip a paper a bit. Luckily, it is under part of the bow, so you can't see it. But that's why it's really important to make sure you don't press down until you're really ready. But that looks good. Obviously, bows are never going to stick perfectly, but it's okay. It's always the icing on the cake of the gift. And if you can get it nice and centralized, that would be even better. This one, let's see, 1, 2, 3. It is centralized, but one side is curving. So it does seem to be off a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't want to move it. And again, gifts may never be perfect, but it could be even better if you really try to line up that exact perfect thing. Okay, last stop is we are putting on a label. So labels are important too. You want to make sure that the label doesn't overtake the thing as well. We have some basic labels somewhere over here that I could use, but for the sake of this video, I'll pick one that's more exciting. Let's see. So we have whales, cats, penguins. That's how all of them are? Yeah, that's how they all are. So I'm going to go with something more subtle. I'm going to go for the small Christmas tree. Tells people who it is, but it doesn't, just shout it from the rooftops, For more elaborate gifts, we may do that. Now, again, placement is important. Do you want to just put it right in the middle, right on the bottom? And I go back and forth on this. Sometimes I'll go crazy and just put it wherever. I don't even know. I guess I'm going to put it right under the bow for maximum niceness. So, there we go. I don't have a pen with me, and plus I don't want you to know who the gift's for anyways, but obviously I'd say from Jonathan to whoever it's for, and right there. And also, as I'm sure you've done, an easy tip, just to remind you guys, is you don't always have to put your name. You just have to put just enough that people get who it is. It can say from me to you if you guys are on a me to you basis, or whatever, something cute. from my homie to my bro or whatever, whatever it takes to get people to know. And if you want to bypass these banners entirely, that is possible. You could just use a permanent marker and just write who it's for. I find that is kind of less neat. However, if you have a huge amount of gifts, I definitely see it as a way to go if you're really running out of options in regards to time and stuff like that. I know I've been there. But this is the ideal. So let's just kind of recap on what we have here. We have what I call a true sealed gift. Again, we started with the 2/3 method of one flap over the other halfway. Then we did the middle of the tape to create that initial seal, then side and side. Then we created the edges. We always do upper flap last, lower flap first, right? No, I'm wrong. Upper flap first, then lower flap last, and then you tape it. And again, I didn't do a great job on the tape actually, but you want to go in a straight line, keep it as minimalized as possible, and make sure that the face front of your gift is always where there is no tape. And then finally put the bow in the middle top and the name tag right below it. So what we have here is an ideal, perfect store-bought gift for absolute perfection. Didn't cost me a cent. Like if you want something like this, you could see something of almost the same quality, and you may have paid $3 just for someone to wrap this single gift at a gift wrap place, maybe even more. I don't know how much they charge per gift, but that would actually seem like a pretty reasonable price. But this is what you're looking for free if you just follow these easy steps. And also, again, I know I could have wrapped this a lot quicker, but if you have the time, I mean, if you're still wrapping today, and I've been there, so I know what it's like to have to try to wrap on Christmas Eve, but you guys can do it, and quality matters. So this is what you're looking for, and this is the ideal. So that was Films JRP. I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas Eve. I know it's been about a month since I've made a mini movie, but school has really dictated what kind of movies I make and how often I make them. So that was unfortunately an issue. But I'm taking, I guess you want to say, lighter classes this time. So I'm hoping that I'll have more time for independent movies in the future. So you guys have a great rest of the year. Who knows? Maybe we'll do something for New Year's. We're not sure. I didn't really do vlogging this year because it's 2020 and we're all at home and there's not as many things to vlog about. But we'll see. So if this is the last I see you guys of the year, I just want you to wish you a Happy New Year. Let's hope 2021 is so much better. Well, this year's almost over. And I hope you guys have a really great Christmas and a great rest of the holiday. All right, guys? I will see you later.